Thanks, Michael. All right, so at Sonder, as was mentioned last night, you've got to figure out what your mission is, and ours is hospitality everywhere. So how that's accomplished is a myriad of ways, whether it's the locations or the app-enabled services that we can bring to you. But we see it as the future. So quick overview there. Obviously, everyone's familiar with the history of the hospitality space in this room. A little bit about us. If you were to add up the value of all the real estate that we currently lease today, it's about $4 billion, 1,100 plus employees. That sounds really high. We have a lot of hospitality agents. As you guys know, this is a people-intensive business. We're in 30 markets. We've signed 8,500 units. We call them units because the majority of our portfolio is multifamily type assets. So you've got kitchens, you've got bathrooms. It looks like a standard apartment. To date, $400 million in financing, 750,000 plus guests by the end of this year. Our NPS is about 67, which Chip touched on the NPS last night real quick. That's, the score goes from negative 100 to 100. The hotel industry is in the mid-30s to mid-40s, depending on time of the year, I guess. Regulatory compliance, huge one for us, 100%. One of the big differentiators, as everyone here knows, with Airbnb, you actually don't know what you're going to get. 100% of our portfolio to date and in the future will be 100% compliant. That is one of our key hallmarks. We were founded in 2014. So here's kind of an overview of where we're alive today, obviously predominantly in the US and rapidly expanding across Europe and parts of the Middle East. Real estate partners to date, so obviously some pretty big names. We're expanding rapidly, but MetLife, Blackstone, UDR, some of the largest landlords. Our investors, a lot of really cool, fun, interesting people. Former CFO of Blackstone, former CFO of Airbnb, now runs Westcap, his family office, and board member and investor of ours. We're extremely proud to have someone with that kind of background to help guide us in this fun ride. And then we've also got folks like the Pritzkers, the founders of Hyatt Hotels. So there's definitely some more classic hotel space folks involved with us as well. So how is Sonder different? Seamless access. We install our own hardware on all of our units. So even in a shared building where we're just a full floor of a traditional multifamily property, we'll go and install our own locks. These locks, the codes can be changed via Wi-Fi. As we all know, even in traditional hospitality buildings, sometimes your key card, demagnetizes, whatever, something happens, and you're in front of your room, and all of a sudden you got to go back to the lobby. With ours, you don't have to do that. You can call our 24/7 support center, and they will walk you through unlocking the lock right there in person. Rapid response, again, operationally, so we refer to ourselves as a deconstructed hotel. So what that means, in a place like Austin, we have units all the way from the Domain to South Congress. But generally, no matter what time of the day, we can have someone to you within 30 minutes, despite there not being a front desk. In buildings where we have a large presence of units, sometimes we will have someone on site and that can get there a little quicker, but definitely not the one-to-one guest-to-employee ratio that you would see in some of the higher-end hospitality properties. Smart thermostats, this is great for us because then we can control the temperature, the HVAC use, whether a unit's vacant or not. And then our proprietary app, so rather than having concierge, people can request things via the app. This can be any number of things. Families are a huge part of our demographic that travels with us, so they can request, playpen for the kids. Being a deconstructed hotel, we can afford to have a lot more personalized amenities that we will deploy upon request to the units. So that's huge. Noise detection, this is an important one for our landlord partners in buildings where we're shared. I think we all know that, noise is an important part of the business, whether on the hospitality side or in your home. So we have noise-aware machines that detect decibels. The way that system works is after most cities is 10 p.m. with quiet hours. If for an extended period of time, decibel levels are elevated, the guest actually gets a text message. If the noise stays elevated, then they get a call. If they don't answer, they answer, but they keep the noise elevated, then we will actually deploy a hospitality agent. So this has been really interesting because it's actually enabled us to help landlords discover that some of their long-term tenants are the loud people in their buildings, not our guests. But it's been a great technology for us in terms of providing a great guest experience and a great landlord experience for our partners. Tech-supported housekeeping. We have our own in-house apps for housekeeping services. This allows us to quality control to a high level despite having a distributed model. And then in-house supply chain. We do not have a giant warehouse full of furniture. Everything is delivered just in time. It does create a bit of a longer lead time than maybe for some of our competitors, but it allows us to not have just a ton of furniture that isn't necessarily being put to use. So, all right. Check-in instructions. So with having a distributed model, not having a regular check-in, this all comes via your phone, via the app, via email. You get an email with your check-in code. You get instructions, as I don't know if people here have been in some of these newer multifamily properties, but they can be pretty large. So having all this information at the palm of your hands allows folks to navigate the property. Access and security, again, codes and using technology to have access at various points to make it secure even without having human presence. Unit amenities. So I think everyone here who has traveled using Airbnb or even VRBO or even home sharing, sometimes you get to that home and the pots are burned out. There's only one knife and it's a 5-bedroom place. How is that going to work out? So that's a huge part of our experience is providing consistent, thoughtful, and necessary items. So you are always going to have salt, pepper, olive oil, all of the basics. So if you show up at 11 p.m. and you don't want to go to the grocery store to grab some of the basics, or you don't have time, everything's there. Our hospitality agents, our housekeeping services always make sure that everything is available to you when you arrive. Including in certain cases, we have like personalized kits. Like for example, here you may get some Salt Lake barbecue sauce in your unit, or things of that nature. By market, we kind of have different items. Connected home, again, kind of going back to the technology aspect, that's obviously a huge part of our business and a huge expenditure for us. For example, on the TV side, we don't have countless, somewhat pointless numbers of cable subscriptions. We just have Google Chromecast in all of the units. This way, you can AirPlay your Netflix account from your iPad or from your laptop onto the Chromecast, and you can bring all of the systems that you're used to having at home and just put them up on that TV. You're not cycling through random channels that are different in every market. You're kind of using the same comforts of home. Integrated task management. For us, this is highly critical. Again, not having an on-site presence, you have to develop very robust systems for how you're going to handle guest requests and how that gets carried out throughout the organization. Again, this is a lot of the operational things. So we've had to build out a lot of our own systems to scale our operations efficiently. So this is, we have our own software for guest issues. Interior design is also another huge component of what we do. Every building, the units in every building are individually designed. Within a building, there'll sometimes be repeats, but there won't be a repeat from one building to another. And the design does incorporate local flavor. So here, you'll see some of the southern aspect, whether that may be some references to cows or things of that nature. In Rome, you're going to have maybe some references to Roman history, things of that nature, and that really helps create a unique guest experience that's more in line with the boutique hotels than some of the bigger hotel chain experiences. Our interior design has been featured in many of the great publications, so Architectural Digest, Vogue, Elle Decor. The picture on the bottom right there is actually an Austin unit, kind of referring to that Southern heritage there. then the results of all of this work. So here, kind of going back to that NPS and a quick review, a lot of our guests, it's groups, it's business as well, but this is kind of showing a consistent NPS experience, especially as we've built out a lot of our systems. That ramp up is here. So Connected Home was an initiative we started in early 2018. And so that was adding all the Wi-Fi enabled locks, having the 24/7 support system. We were able to dramatically reduce our guest issues by deploying all of these systems that had a robust back end to them. Partnering with Sonder. So for multifamily landlords, which I'll go over real quick, obviously not this audience, faster lease up, guaranteed monthly income, consistent maintenance, guest screening and monitoring. Screening and monitoring important because of the shared nature of the buildings. For hotel owners, increased NOI, reduced operating cost, property renovation support, guest screening and monitoring again. So the increased NOI, we actually have a little different model than a lot of the hospitality companies. We do not do management agreements. We sign master leases on the entire property. So what that means is you have consistent monthly income and no seasonality. We're able to do that because we are dramatically reducing the cost of operating a hotel. Check-ins, we don't have someone at the front desk. It's just all in your phone. It's all in the lock. We can do daily housekeeping and we can do refresh, but we do it at a cost to the guest. And I think more and more folks don't feel it's necessary if they're staying somewhere for 2 nights or just 1 night, or I guess just 2 to 3 nights, that there be daily housekeeping. So removing that and making it by request only dramatically reduces our overhead as well. Services, they can be requested via the app, via text, via email. We do have a centralized calling center that it allows people to call, but generally a lot of it happens via the app. And the amenities similarly are done on demand either from us or via some of our partners. For example, in some markets right now, we're rolling out with some of the Uber Eats, the Postmates of the world, where you can actually order your food through our app, but through them really. Hotel booking mix, this has been a really fun experience for us. We're up to about 23% of our bookings through our own website. This is for us huge because we have not started our direct-to-consumer marketing efforts yet. So that means that it's folks that have stayed with us. They either discovered us through Airbnb, through Booking.com, through Expedia, whoever it may be. Decide they like it, and instead of shopping it around, just now go straight to our website or our app to book their stays. So kind of going back to the ops side, so like I mentioned, we design everything in-house. So the property renovations, the furniture ordering, all of those things. We have a very skilled, very large design team that handles all of that. We have our own inventory system. We work directly with furniture manufacturers to custom design and put together some pieces. And we basically, our design team has their own giant Amazon store that they order from. Some more kind of, sorry, we're running low on time, so I'll skip through some of these things. This is our housekeeping app. So these are just some screenshots from it that allows everyone for whom it applies to view how and when units were, the housekeeping service came through, and allows us to keep the quality control consistent throughout the portfolio without having on-site staff. The quality audits, again, kind of this is at a higher level. On the average, we review these on a regular basis to make sure that everything's being done properly. Repairs and maintenance, it's important for our landlords to know that we're keeping the properties in good condition. So we have, again, some software on our back end to make sure that we're properly reporting and accounting for any issues that come up. Trust and safety and vetted guests. This is a big one, again, in the shared buildings. We have a 3-step authentication process where we match. People have to take a selfie and then also have to take a photo of their driver's license, and we use facial recognition technology to make sure those match. And then the credit card that they have on file with us, the name has to match what's on the ID. This helps us make sure that people are real people. And that it enables a better experience for everyone. We also maintain a pretty strict blacklist policy. We have a no parties policy, no smoking indoors policy. If any of those items get violated, depending on the severity, maybe just once, sometimes 3 strikes and you're out. But that guest list is maintained throughout the company. As you saw earlier, now that we're in 30 markets, that's starting to be a pretty large group of people that we are able to make sure we've got the right guests. Some case studies real quick. The Louisiana and San Diego. So this was a traditional multifamily property. We leased 13 of the 15 units and signed a 5-year lease with the landlord. This allowed him to get some more attractive financing than he would have maybe otherwise been able to. This is really lovely standard multifamily property. Another one here. Similarly, we're able to stabilize the property, and the landlord partner was able to sell it at a really attractive price. We'll move on. This is one of our bigger properties in New York, right next to the stock exchange. We're up to actually a little over 200 units in this building. The landlord has asked us to expand, but this is a really beautiful property right in the heart of Fidei. On the hotel side, so this is a newer initiative for us. Started kind of in stealth mode earlier this year, really just now starting to roll out in more of our markets, but we are signing master lease agreements on even smaller and boutique properties to a certain extent, like this 19 keys, properties that historically were very difficult to operate, right? With 19 keys, it's tough to staff internally, it's tough to manage, it's tough to pay the booking systems, et cetera, et cetera. So bring in our scale, bring in our operations, we're able to basically have a higher revenue and a higher profiting operation in these buildings. Some of these buildings also don't have room for the back office systems, whether that's space for housekeeping carts, space for a sales team, et cetera, et cetera. So with our distributed model, we're able to centralize all of that and enable the property to act like it's a much bigger property than it is. So we've got a few of these, San Francisco, London. This is one of the bigger ones at 45 keys. And then the Jung in New Orleans at 111 keys is our bigger hotel property to date, but a really cool older asset there. 135 Golf, again in San Francisco, again 10 keys, really small property in of itself, and that's where we really excel at bringing our systems in. And that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Nice job, Ben. Thank you.